is with the DNR in Mason City. And she said the manure, they did send more acres. And they dealt with Dan. Dan said he's approving the manure management plan. And then with the LLC concern, she said normally the LLCs are used to hide people's involvement and to make a separation. And in this instance, they are declaring that they are owners of it. So she has no problem with the LLC, or the lawyer, the DNR's lawyer said they don't have a problem with the LLC. Because the full ownership of the LLC is the same as the ownership of the hogs or the other type that they're connecting to. So the city said everything is fine on their side. I would recommend approval of Kuper based on information from the DNR that we received.
Second?
Motion by Paul, second by Walt, to approve the recommendation to the DNR for the Kuper Aug 3 LLC. Any further discussion?
What is your total for school?
470.
I think we need to make an effort to get people
Yeah, the original score.
involved.
And note that law, we are required to approve.
We don't need to notify anybody
Further
outside
discussion?
of the
Roll call vote. Follis?
Aye.
Walk?
Aye.
Bender, aye. Motion's approved.
So they'll send it in.
What are
with
people
comments.
left?
Yeah,
Put up with
extra one. Email me that.
Joel.
Anything else?
I put it on Facebook and my social media, so that's
Highlight that.
Quality of life.
Block all this.
Keep the phone there.
got your name.
So they don't get sent in again.
A lot of it boils down to concentration. And I'm going to address one thing I said at the last meeting about not being able, water quality, not being able to determine where the coliform bacteria come from. Coliform bacteria are, of course, waste from strictly waste products. I did a little bit, very superficial research. You can do groundwater flow. This could be determined if we wanted to, where this is coming from. We have to be able to drill test wells by the various pits and then analyze that through the aquifers. It costs a lot of money. You have to get access to the individual's farms. Other, possibly cheaper, would be with DNA serotyping on bacteria. You could culture the coliform out of water. And you could go in and get something from the pit. Shannon has mentioned you do have some leeway in the matrix. Those are things I would suggest look into, maybe at least if you grant a manure management plan, the county has the right, or the DNR has the right to go in and do this sampling. Because one of the common things they say, as we heard last week, is that, well, you can't prove it. You can't prove what you don't look for. It's just a fact of life. And I'm going to end with one other thing, and I'm paraphrasing this. When Teddy Roosevelt talked about conservation, one of the things he said was, progress is not a race to the bottom. I think that's what we're doing. Thank you for your time.
Well, Dr. Beckman, basically, I guess it's this sign of the times, but we really don't have people getting involved in anything anymore. You know, this is part of the problem when you mention that hardly ever do we have anybody attending even our board meetings. And not that people just don't want to be involved. And we're not finding, you know, I don't care if it's on the local level, state level, it's hard to find good people to, you know, they just,
Is that because they don't want to, or they think they won't be listened to? That's my first
I
question.
think
And
they
that's
don't want to be
hard.
bothered, I don't think they want to be bothered. They really feel that they can't either make a difference or, I don't know how, but I mean,
You touched on it, they feel they can't make a
Can I
difference.
comment from my seat? I think they're over-involved. I think people are just so bombarded with, what's your personal choices? I mean, families are making some personal choices as well. And then, of course, because you've got 2 working people in a household, and your meeting's at 8:30, which is perfectly reasonable, but who can call? I mean, they're at work. So you've got all sorts of things that are causing the problem, but doesn't mean you don't look for a solution.
It's tough to
I'll
make
give you,
these-
I'll give you an issue that is rather somewhat dear to me. Sunday in the Des Moines Register was front page about high schools now again doing more in the careers and trying to keep our people here. You know, that for how many years we said that get your 4-year degree, get a post, whatever, this is where the money's at. Now it's going back the other direction. I mean, that we really need the careers. 4 or 5 years ago already, there was people at St. Ansgar that was deciding that we weren't doing enough at St. Ansgar. In Carpenter, whatever, I mean, electronics and so on and so forth.
Trades.
So that they started talking about, let's try to work with some other areas. Well, first they talked about maybe we could do something, set it up at Grafton with Manly and Northwood. Oh my God, no, we can't do that because it has to be in St. Ansgar. We can't do anything at Osage because by God, those people aren't whatever. They're going to try to take over our school. I mean, right away again, we can't seem to make any progress at all. We can't have a good conversation. We can't, I mentioned how many times I'd like to see us as a Board of Supervisors be able to sit and visit with school board members because we're all in the same game together.
Right.
Well,
You
I'm
know,
a member of the Lookout for Number 1 generation. I mean, that started in my lifetime, where that was a very common, and that's what's happened.
yeah. And I
In
mean,
my
but we're not
opinion,
getting
that's
these
okay.
conversations to where we really should have them. And I don't know why. We can't seem to, we can't even seem to force them.
No, it is hard, like a meeting today, that people work, it's hard to, I mean, you don't see many working.
But I do have my library hours in Statesville and Riceville. I don't attend them much anymore because the first year I was there every second and fourth Thursday from 2 to 5, and I tried to do it after, 5 o'clock, up to 5 o'clock so people could come. I have a sign now that I put outside so at least I can, let people know I'm there so they don't have to remember those days, but
And
It's
people
hard.
can't follow directions very well. I've explained how many times, if you have an issue, give me a call at home. I got a recorder at home. I'll be damned if they won't call the courthouse here at them. And I might not come in all week. And then, the issue for them has already been passed. I didn't answer because I never came in just to check my phone.
you should set up your email.
Pardon?
Set up your email, we'll forward it to your phone, will forward
I'm
it.
not that smart.
No, that's what the lady that said, we just got a new phone system and she had said, because that was an issue for me, and she said, well, we can have, so it forwards the voicemail to my email. So within minutes I get it, but it's a smartphone thing, but,
I don't have a smartphone.
well, you can get it on your email at home.
Then you're gonna quit. But you're elected to represent all the people of Mitchell County, you aren't elected to represent Des Moines or wherever. And one other thing I've been going to mention I never do, Des Moines makes these laws, the legislatures, the governor, they all live there. But they don't have to smell us, and to that effect, Des Moines has an odor control board. They don't put up with it, we have to. And I'm gonna end now, thank
They're
you.
good at tying our hands because if you read that, like Stan said, we have nothing to do with it. But how can you score your own matrix?
Right.
And as a follow-up
can
to
you
the
compare it
matrix
to the
and the
next
county being able to add stuff, I've had 2 counties respond. No, one of the counties responded, is what they added to the matrix request for the county is that you have to file your easements with the recorder's office, which is money for the county. And instead of just sending in 1 copy of the master matrix, they want 6 copies. That is That's the only county out of the 6 that I got and asked for. That is the only county that's added additional requirements, and they have nothing to do with what the guy said in the presentation. It's just, I was like, well,
It's just spin.
yeah. So they added additional requirements to their matrix, but it wasn't anything in the
Yeah.
matrix.
I think this is a good discussion. I'm concerned, you know, as you look at you people, you've got a job to do, and your hands are tied, which that means change needs to take place somewhere. And somebody's got to get that change started. And I don't know if you have supervisor organizations, if all of them are saying we can't do anything, then you may as well tell them, why are we here? What are we for if we can't do anything? You know, I think this case here is not a level playing field. They get to make changes after we point out mistakes. That should have been based on what was presented and was it true or not. So the playing field's not level. And I think we have to look at trying to take and get involvement. If you can't do anything, then why are you even involved?
Well, sadly, anymore, I really feel this is the case with the Iowa legislature as well as the United States Congress. It's where the money's at. A number of years ago, I forget what the issue was, but I called up Senator Reagan and was explaining it, and she says, well, it isn't going to happen. And I said, well, yes, I mean, you guys can work on it. She says, no, it's not going to happen. The lobbyists won't allow it. And I thought to myself, who in the hell's in charge here, except I knew the answer before I asked the question. And that's exactly what happens down there. It's basically the people with money have the influence. We, as elected officials, yes, we have ISAC, but we have no money to put into the thing. You know, we don't contribute to, ISAC doesn't contribute to re-election campaigns and so on and so forth, and we really, we're swept out the door, basically. I mean, they don't, you know, the money people is what controls it. And sadly, it's going to get worse unless we can come up with some,
Well, you're gonna just have a line of these coming in. I've heard rumors of tons of
I saw that one the other day, it's coming up in a couple weeks.
and it's just gonna continue, and, you know, I think it's sad day in America when we no longer can protect our young people, protect our children, protect our water, and protect our air. And basically, we're losing that.
They don't even enforce the laws that are on the books.
Yeah,
You know, if you read the 657.1 nuisance, what constitutes a nuisance? Have you ever read it?
Mm-hmm. I have.
Well, I showed it to Mark before the meeting because I was all prepared to vote no on this. But he says that is exactly where the county took this to court based on that nuisance law. And the judge immediately threw it out because you cannot regulate agriculture.
that's a sad day.
Well, see that,
Our American democracy that we can't.
It's on the books, and then
Yeah,
it's whatever is injurious to health, indecent, or unreasonably offensive to the senses. I thought, man, that hits right on the nail.
Yes,
and there's a comment too about being able to use your own property.
Yeah, and so, as essentially to interfere unreasonably with the comfort and enjoyable of life or property is a nuisance. I mean, it's right there, but the judge threw it out. Can't regulate agriculture. Well, you need to regulate agriculture. You need to regulate everything if it gets out of hand. That's my feeling, but
The other interesting piece of that, I spoke with Daniel this morning, talking about manure management plans. Yeah, and there's still not enough acres, but they can't look across all plans. They
Yeah, they
can't
can only
look
look at
across
that
all
one.
ownership. And so, you know, when I look at the resubmitted, by corn acres, there still isn't enough, but because he was really essentially, we can only look at that one. Now, if we're lucky, we can go that day when we do the audits. We can do Kuper Hog 1 through 3, for example. But you still doesn't add in, there's no database in there for them that lists, like puts a code on the field and allows you to check via the field. So even from a DNR standpoint, they're really tied on a lot of the regulations as well, which I thought was very sad. And the plan really doesn't have any teeth. The only teeth the DNR picks up is when they go to audit. and that's the only time they have teeth.
Right.
in
And
that.
also like, I'm not really into the manure management plans, but I know the building and the matrix as far as protecting water with carson and everything, but you have no idea what the soil is that they're actually spraying manure on. I mean, I know the pit is discussed, but a lot of our concerns is on the fields that they're putting manure in. So,
And the other piece, in talking to Dan, there's actually precedence for Board of Supervisors over in Saragordo County to approve the matrix and actually not approve the site. It does go on to the project as a part of it. It goes on to the DNR from that, and then it goes through review, and then you actually have the power to appeal what they put forward. So I think there's a bit of a miss here on what power you may have or not have, and there's other counties that have stepped forward to take care of that. So the challenge back to you again of, if it is to be, it is up to me, right? We have to stand up and make sure this is followed through correctly. And quite frankly, we need your help. That's why you're elected to help protect all of us as a part of it, and it's not individual interest, I realize, but the greater good of each county.
I want to keep these people here.
the new notification, you'll be getting it within 2 miles of your place, so, again, so.
Can I also say, I think you've got a group of people here that are willing to help you help us. If we know what we can do to help you get what you need to make some differences. I mean, I don't mean to speak
No,
through all of
and
that.
the reason I'm gonna be
But I
gone the rest of the
think-
week is I'm going to ISAC, which is Iowa State Association of Counties, and we do have a supervisor meeting, so I'm gonna ask, like I said, I haven't gotten decent responses from anyone besides the fact that they make them record the easements and stuff, to find out what people do, you know, if anyone's got a good idea.
You learn something that we can do as a group.
Have
Help
any of
you.
you,
Move some of these things forward, we'd be more than happy.
have any of you actually contacted Senator Wayland Brown and/or Jane Bloomingdale?
Yep, I've actually spoke with Waylon Brown a few weeks ago. I know Sue has too, and then Jane is on our list to continue to work on this.
And what response did Senator Brown give you?
Actually, he's very interested in reworking on the matrix, but he wants to work it through on the rules process so that it doesn't open up at a state level, because we're all concerned. And that's been our challenge in speaking up as well, is we're for confinement agriculture, we're for ag, but we don't, you open it wide open and you can have the challenge of special interest groups coming in as well. So he's hoping to try to work through the rules process itself to make some changes to the matrix.
Literally, when you
Well, I
look
guess
at
I
the
don't
matrix,
understand how he's planning on trying to do that. I
Well,
mean,
we're hoping that we're gonna follow up with him again.
Yeah.
because, again, this was passed, I mean, this is law passed by the legislature and can't, it has to be changed by the the whole legislature, the governor signing it.
But it's got to start somewhere.
I understand that, but I
Right,
mean, but if he's not willing to try to motivate the legislature to actually,
I think he's interested. The other thing I think he's looking for is proposals for adjustments. And it's not that the matrix is all bad. Literally, when you go through it, there's 3 to 5 points in there that if you make minor adjustments to it, it really does help from a protection standpoint of the well-being of communities and counties. So I think some of it is stepping back a bit too and asking, and some of the folks in the DNR have said, we agree the matrix needs to be adjusted. So there's a broader group that says that something needs to be done. So I think there's some opportunity for, we're talking about how do we put forward a proposal to make adjustments.
Or even just get rid of the easy points, so they kind of have to dig deeper to get their points.
If you adjust the threshold on the points, if you take as far as, you get 120 points for a truck turnaround
Yeah,
versus
for
25 points for a biofilter, and it's almost sickening when you look as far as, but again, I think it was talked about last time of why it is what it was 20 years ago around protecting the hog industry. But I think there's some, again, 3 or 4 things that you adjust, and it makes it much more reasonable and gives you more power to be able to really hold those things accountable.
We don't want a smog of manure over Mitchell County before things finally get enough people involved. So that's why we need to keep doing things like this. I think, and like they said, we need your help in terms of getting some of these changes and get things started. Otherwise, we just keep going, and it's going to keep going like it has in the last few years. So I think the matrix was a good idea back in 2002, but it's just, times have changed since 2002, and I think it's time that needs to be changed, and hopefully we can get to some people that start to see that. again, you know, for the media record, we are not opposed to animal agriculture, and we're not opposed to confinement. It's just the concentration. And we start looking at 15 to 25, 30,000 hogs within a mile and a half radius, and we got another one coming in now to the east of us a mile. Yeah, it's just, they're breathing, and what's the air gonna be? That's a concern.
If you have an Iowa Select farm that's got 7,200 sows as a part of it, you could turn out 144,000 feeders a year. And why is it in Mitchell County? They're not gonna transport them a long distance as a part of it. So this is one of those, when you think 3 years from now of what could be, I think it's one of those that it's a dire need to take action and step forward now. And that's obviously, I do work, and I'm here to stand forward and say, hey, we wanna help.
Yeah, the board isn't, I was asked if we're for or against hog confinements. We're neither. We're for growth in Mitchell County, whether that be industry, hog confinements, but everyone has to do it together and be happy. In that. That's my opinion, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
I like sausage. You know, I mean, you know. But there comes a point in time when too many in one spot is not a good thing. I mean, it's just not.
Yeah, as far as sow buildings, that city, I know there's one in Howard County. She said there's 3 in our area. So,
This is just the new proposed site that's going with Iowa Select up.
right, on Primrose. Yeah, but there's
That
one
is
in
like all the
Jamestown
others.
in Howard County. She said there's another one somewhere. Jamestown project in Howard County.
Okay,
And Cindy said there's another, she said there's 3 in this area. I don't know where the third one is. It's gotta be in a different county, but I don't know where. So.
I'd like one other thing here, just this is point of interest about what we're up against. I have an article here that says school proximity to concentrated CAFOs and prevalence of asthma in students. It shows a lot more asthma, but I assume it's the hog producers who's been an ad on the radio saying that this study isn't relevant because it didn't address the smoker of the parents. Well, if you get the actual article, it said although this group was more likely to live on a farm and have parents who smoke, these potentially confounding variables did not account for the increased prevalence. So it's right here, but they're spinning it. They're not lying totally, but they're spinning it and they're putting it out on all the airways, and they've got the money to do it. And then I was taught that would be a lie. Now maybe I'm an old fogey, but that's a lie to me.
anything else? Well, then it looks like 10 o'clock, we got Purple Heart presentation.
Again, thank you kindly for coming.